Hello, everyone. Dr. Victoria Skirbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. And it is October 1st, and I just put a whole bunch of things up. I did a Kabbalah for October, numerology, Tree of Life. I did a astrology for the first 10 days of very busy 10 days in a very busy month. For October, and I also put up the Taroscopes for October. So you're being a little inundated by me. I also did a reading on the future of the Democrats and the Republicans. I asked for the month, but it looked like it might have been a little bit of a long term. And then I put out that if you had any questions. And somebody posed the question about justice. When will justice be served? And I thought it was a good question. It's not necessarily a question I myself don't ask. But I thought to myself, you know, we've been waiting 4 years for justice, or now almost 5 years, right, for justice to be served in some way. We had 4 years of pretty much somebody who did not respect the laws of the land, we'll call it, sort of in charge and sort of stacking the deck. And now we come out of that particular 4-year period looking for justice and the like. And I think that, or I feel as though a lot of certainly we got triggered through the 4-year period that the 45th president served as the ruler of the world, lest we forget. And it was as if we were in a little bit of what's the word I'm looking for? Suspended animation, where we had to see it, experience it, feel it, and not necessarily get much satisfaction from it. And then we had the 2020 presidential election. And we, luckily here in the States, got a new president. And yet the old stuff doesn't seem to be going away. It's like that piece of glass in your foot, or it's like that, I don't know if anybody out there ever has gotten a dog or a cat hair in their foot. It's like, and then as you get older, you can't see quite the same way. So you're like, what is this sticking in my foot? You're looking for it. And it's a little sliver of glass, or it's a little hair. And every step you're reminded that things aren't quite right. That's kind of what it feels like to me as we sit here sort of wondering if justice will ever be served. Certainly justice takes a long time to be served. Unlike revenge, which can happen quickly and is served cold. And it never really feels good anyway. You know, revenge is a dish best served cold, and yet never fulfilling. Revenge never fulfills us. The only thing that fills us is love. And on a certain level, I think we need to kind of learn to love through this experience. I know what you're thinking. I'm not going to love that Orange Julius. Or as what I used to call him, Orange Judas. I want to see justice be served. So what I'm doing is I just want to do a reading on the theme of justice and when will justice be served? When will we feel, if it's even possible, that people have been held accountable. Okay, so I'm almost done here. Just a few more shuffles. I wanted to use my Thoth deck to do this, but that one's up in the house and I was a little too lazy to go. But this is an important read, I think, and so I'm using my Rider-Waite, which I rarely use except to, do readings with for the numerology and the Kabbalah and stuff like that for people to see what cards they have in their energy vibration. But all right, I think we're done. There we go. I don't know how many times I did that, but I did it a lot. Question is, when is enough enough? Enough is enough when it feels like it's enough. That's how I decide. Okay, let's see what the cards have to say. When will justice be served? Okay, we have the Gemini card. The Gemini card, the Lovers, is about choice. And it also talks about separation, black and white, good and bad, separation from source, and then the journey back to unity. We can see that we have a man and a woman here standing separately, and there's a mountain between them, and then we have the angel above them, the tree of good and evil, and the tree of knowledge behind them. This reminds us that there are two sides to every story. So one person's sense of justice may feel like one person's sense of injustice. So just because, and the person who asked the question wants to know when I think she's going to feel like justice is served. And I appreciate that. But we do have to take into consideration that justice is different for different people, right? Let's see what's crossing this. We have the Chariot. The Chariot. So the Chariot is about the soul coming into the body, and moving onto the path to get done what needs to be done, to do what needs to be done, to take action. This is a Cancer vibration. So we have Gemini with the Lovers, we have Cancer with the Chariot. Let's see what's at the root. So this card, at the root of this question, is a sense of feeling like you're trapped. This is about fear. This is about feeling trapped. This is about not being blind. Being blinded by your thoughts and ideas, right? Swords. And yet, she has made it to the shore. She is almost through the swords. And she gets there by following the water. Feeling with her feet where the water is and following that. So that talks to us about following our feeling nature. Getting out of our head and getting into our heart. In the past, we have the Temperance, the Angel of Temperance. I feel as though temperance in the past is about being able to hold your balance through putting one foot in front of the other. This card is about a spiritual initiation. And so what this says to me is we have gone through a spiritual initiation. In the service of healing. In the sky we have the Three of Wands. The Three of Wands is a highly creative card. This man has created these three wands. They're sprouting little leaves, meaning that they're alive. They're still alive, even though they're separate from the tree. These can be creative ideas. And he's looking further out into the world for opportunity. Maybe he's waiting for ships to come in. Maybe he's waiting for more friends, more people to share the light that he's been able to create forth. Looking to the future, a future vision here. The threes in the tarot are connected to the Sephiroth Bina in the Tree of Life. And Bina is the head of the pillar of the future. So there's a future orientation here. We have the Seven of Wands having the moral higher ground. Now, I did say that some people's justice may feel like some people's injustice. But justice is justice. And when you do something that is antithetical to the spirit of the law, as it were, you will be tested and you will on some level be tried. This card says to me that we do have the moral high ground here, and there are still things that we need to be, even with the moral high ground, we need to be conscious and we need to be vigilant, but not hyper vigilant, just vigilant. How it's seen from the outside, illumination. So this is about moving in a new direction. The domestic situation, we have the Empress. The Empress is the energy of the earth. It is Venus. It is love. It is creativity. The Empress is pregnant with possibilities. She sits on the Tree of Life, energetically in the third eye, spanning Hokmah, the divine masculine, with Bina, the divine feminine. This is creative visualization. This is your domestic situation. So this says to me you need to create what you want in your own place, in your own home. You need to be creative, or you need to connect to the creation around you. I almost want to say sit in your garden, enjoy the birds, enjoy the plants, do something creative, whatever it is. It's important that you connect with nature in your environment. This sense of justice that we wait for is not found necessarily in the garden, right? I had to go to a federal building to do some legal things once. And I met my lawyer there, and I walked into the building, and there were hardly any people. There were people around, but nobody really talked to you. I mean, my lawyer talked to me, but it was like this giant, like, marble facade. It was just so, it was like, I don't know, everything was tall, and everything was smooth, and everything was beautiful, but nondescript, if you know what I mean. And I thought to myself, the energy in there was so different than anything that I had experienced. I mean, I spent my career as a healer. I've been in doctor's offices. I had my own office for years. It's a different energy, right? The healing profession is a different energy than the legal profession. And there was as if as if there was a separation between the feelings that you had and what you had to do. You had to sort of remove your feelings from the situation. And in a way, the energy of the place helped you do that. You became less emotional about what you were experiencing. For me, anyway, and I'm a very emotional person. And it sort of made you like just sort of stand up a little straighter, and you were just a little more aware, and you're like, oh my God, this is really serious. So it wasn't a big legal thing. It wasn't anything that I was in trouble for or anything like that. It was just a legal thing that I had to do, and I had to go to a federal courthouse in Boston. And it was a different thing. It was very what's the word I'm looking for? Rarefied. There was a real rarefied energy there. Hopes and fears. Messages? Information coming? I mean, we want to hear about it, right? Let's see the outcome. The Emperor. The Emperor. Interesting the Emperor should come up. The Emperor is a card of dominion. And so it is a judgment of power and dominion. It is a judgment around both the duality of somebody who's aligned with, we'll say, justice and what is important to do, and the procedures and the steps. And then we had the other side of it, right? Gemini, somebody who was just, hey, let's see how far we can push this. Let's see how much chaos we can create, right? To a certain extent, justice, in its higher sense, is about bringing balance and order to a situation. And the situation that we are being asked to look at justice for is necessary, but not necessarily is going to happen within a time frame that we're comfortable with. And I think the most important thing to know about that is that, yes, you are in the higher moral ground, but you cannot allow, whether justice is served, man's justice this is, not karmic justice, because karmic justice is always served. You can't let it affect your life. When we had 4 years of Donald Trump, and he would do all these things that nobody else had done, and we were like, I can't believe he did this. Let's hold him accountable. He wasn't held accountable, mainly because of his Republican colleagues, because they had the power not. And then when we had the power, when we had more of power, right? We attempted it again. And it was obvious that he was guilty. And yet the group, his people, said, nope, he's not even president anymore. What are you worried about? And we know that in order for people to believe in right and wrong, people have to be held accountable. But ultimately, what matters is what you do with your life. And if you're towing the line, just because somebody gets away with something doesn't mean that you're going to try to do it. You're like, oh, that guy got away with that, let me try that. No, because who you are inside is a just person. So while it's important that justice be served, we cannot tie up our minds and our hearts in it. We have to leave it to the people who do it, to that rarefied atmosphere of that federal court building, the high ceilings and the marble facades. And you just walk up to the outside and it's just one big marble facade and steps and a door. I was scared, and I did nothing wrong. So what am I trying to say here? I think a lot of the pain that we went through and a lot of the trauma that we went through while Donald Trump was in the presidency, doing stuff and getting away with it. The Mueller report, and then, we had the Mueller report that was going to do it, that was going to prove things. Then we had the impeachment, that's going to prove things, he did something wrong. And then we had the second impeachment, that's going to prove things, something wrong. Then we had the insurrection, and now it's like, oh, the insurrection, the January 6th commission. We cannot wait for justice to be served to be happy. We just have to be happy. Underneath it all, the devil. The Ten of Swords. And the Hermit. A lot of major arcana, did you notice, in this card? So will justice be served? Will the devil get his due? Yes, it will. And the wisdom through that experience for all of us. We have to see people for who they truly are, I think, and their real function in this situation. Was Donald Trump a narcissistic, self-referential, all about him, childish, buffoon? Yes. Was he a magician manipulating, smoke and mirrors? Yes. Was he a bringer of chaos? Yes. All of those things served to bring us to the place where we are now. Really questioning even whether having a single person in charge is a good idea. The power of the presidency is too powerful. And while we can no longer depend that somebody learned is going to get into that position, right? So I think that we have to really come to terms with the system that we have here in the United States. Now, what is being shown, right? Justice, the last bastion, right, has been the Justice Department. But the Justice Department is having its issues, and the Supreme Court is having its issues. do people, the law of the land, people are seeing it for a little bit differently than they had before. So everything is being tested. Everything is being tested. And will justice be served? Yes. When it's time. When the wheels have all turned. Will everything? No. Will he go to jail? Probably not. By the time this all sort of comes out, he'll probably just either be, dead, or an old guy, playing golf and such. Will the people around him who made the choices be held accountable? Yes. But more important than that is your own sense of, I almost want to say it, don't let it bother you either way. It's going to happen. Observe it. Move out of it and observe it and watch it. There is a new energy. There is a new vibration. Well, the vibration was there. The vibration's always been there. We're becoming aware of a new vibration. We're becoming aware of new possibilities. We're becoming aware of a different way to be, and a different way to live, and a different way to experience this human experience. And I think we need to focus on that and let justice run its course. Things will be held accountable. Is it going to happen exactly the way you want it to? Probably not. But you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with that. Because if there's one thing we've learned through this process, is really the lesson of the Hanged Man, right? There are certain things you can't do anything about. You must accept them and surrender to the higher wisdom of it. And there are things that you can do things about, and that's where you need to put your focus. Really, it all starts from within, quite frankly. And so your biggest responsibility is to your own integrity and your own ability to hold a space of love, even when things are really hard and you're not seeing what you want to see, and you're witnessing people being hurt that maybe needlessly don't need to be hurt. These are all very difficult things to do. And I think that there's going to come a time, there's a lot of healing that needs to happen. There's a lot of healing that needs to happen, and it will happen, and there will be space for that. And we will move through this time together. And justice will be served. Just to not become invested as to whether justice gets served. Because what it's going to do is it's going to take away from your creative capabilities. So that's what I want to say. The Empress wants you to be in your body, wants you to be in the earth, wants you to connect with Mother Nature. We have the Empress here and the Emperor. And we need a balance of these things. We need these two things to come together, the feminine and the masculine. And then we will have justice. Then we will have the balance, right? Okay, hopefully that made some sense to you. I meandered a bit. But I hope that brings you some sense of peace in your heart. I find when you focus on the heart, the mind seems to slip away. And I think that's a good thing. We have to use our minds to think, make decisions, evaluate the evidence, evaluate the information, plan and such. But to just focus on that is only getting half the story. Just like only like hanging out in the garden and just, oh, I'm with nature and not dealing with the logical stuff is not a good idea either. So balance that feminine, creative, intuitive, and the reasoning masculine, and you'll be just fine. Take care. Much love, everyone.